and for Millville.
He is confident about 2020. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
When you have the best economy probably that we've ever had, I don't know, how the hell do you lose this election, right?
President Trump rallying in Pennsylvania last night, calling again the Russia investigation a hoax. This morning, his former White House counsel be a no-show at a House Judiciary Committee into the Mueller reports.
The DOJ's Office of Legal Counsel argues former White House counsel Don McGahn's immunity from testifying is rooted in the separation of powers, and he is not legally required to testify.
That's Fox's Sean Langell. Democrats want to know more about McGahn's testimony to the special counsel that the president tried to get him to fire Mueller. And the Democrats won't like him skipping the hearing. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, House Judiciary Committee Chair Jerry Nadler threatening to hold former White House counsel Don McGahn in contempt. And the Democrat told CNN impeachment proceedings against President Trump are on the table.
The recalcitrance of the president and his lawless behavior is making it more and more difficult to ignore all alternatives, including impeachment.
Nadler met with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi behind closed doors last night and reportedly pressed her on impeachment. Pelosi has long opposed the proceedings, saying they would be too divisive. Dave.
Rachel, members of Congress have demanded more information on threats the Trump administration says are coming out of Iran, and today they'll get it. The House will have a classified briefing, then the Senate will get one. It's another stormy morning in parts of the Midwest and South. The day after tornadoes were spotted in several states, some doing damage. Reports of more this morning in areas of Oklahoma and flooding.
This water is very, very dangerous, a dangerous situation for much of the city here as there continues a flash flood warning. That is the issue. Also, power has been out.
Fox's Aisha Hosni in Oklahoma City. There are also flash flood warnings Missouri to Texas. And in parts of Colorado into Wyoming and Montana, there are winter storm warnings. Some areas could get a foot of snow. This is Fox News.
At Dell, we know running a small business takes hard work. As a thank you, for all of Small Business Month, we're offering up to 45% off select computers with Intel Core processors. Plus, get additional savings when you call a Dell Small Business Technology Advisor. Call 877-BUY-DELL today. That's 877-BUY-DELL. Additional savings valid May 6th through 30th at 8 a.m. Eastern on select computers from customer calls Dell. Excludes Dell Canvas, PowerEdge T30, and select order codes.
Lawn lovers, run with us on a John Deere Z500 Series Z-Track mower. Built to mow better, faster with an Excel Deep Mower Deck. Because whether you're up against the clock or a busy day, this zero turn gets it done in almost no time at all. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Test drive a Z500 Series Z-Track mower at your John Deere dealer during the Take Your Turn sales event.
The heat and humidity are gone for now, so we are cooling down for your Tuesday under mostly sunny skies with a bit of a wind gusting to 30 miles an hour. We will stay dry all day, high temperature around 72 degrees. It'll be mostly clear and cool tonight, low of 52. Partly sunny and pleasant tomorrow, high of 74, and then 79 on Thursday. There will be a chance for a shower both early and late on Thursday. In the middle, a mix of sun and clouds, 78 and sunshine Friday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow on Wpgg Talk Radio 95.5.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thanks very much. This program, and it is glorious, is presented by Chuck Malamut. Chuck, I just referred to your program as glorious.
Good morning,
Wasn't that
Harry.
nice?
And glorious to you, yes, my friend.
That was wonderful. Chuck is a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. I was mentioning right before the end of the last hour that it almost feels like back-to-back, and I like it.
Can't get enough of Harry. What
I
can
know.
I tell you?
I like
morning.
it.
I will. Let me plug your station a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
I made the switch.
Appreciate that.
To 95 95.5.
Thank you.
95.5.
Yeah, thank you.
And I will tell you, Harry, as good as you sound on the AM, you sound that much better on the FM.
Here's the reason. AM is mono. It's out of one channel. The FM is out of both channels, so it's a richer sound. The processing is awesome. And
but I do appreciate the 8 speakers you bought for me.
Well, yeah, I want you to be comfortable. I want it to sound right in your luxury automobile. So thank you to Town Square Media, my employer, Michael Rubel, Chris Coleman, our great chief engineer, Tom McNally. And we're very, very blessed. And it's important, folks. I'm glad Chuck mentioned it because we'll be making that change very, very soon. So don't assume. I know how that works when you can get something right where you've always gotten it. And you know you have time. All of a sudden, you have no time. Make the switch. Change your presets to 95.5. Chuck, market update.
So, Harry, it seems as if we're just kind of in that we're stuck right now. We have had a number of down weeks in all the indices. You know, last week, and again, we were just here this past Friday, but you know the trade, and we'll get into trade a little bit because that dispute just continues to dominate the news, and we're sort of driven by the headlines. We're driven by the next tweets that come out. You know, the S&P last week, Harry, was off 0.7%. Industrials, technology, both moved down because of the trade worries. Financials were weak. Banks were hit by a decline in interest rates, so we can talk a little bit about that as well. What did perform better were defensive areas of the markets, including REITs or real estate investment trusts, utilities, consumer staples. They were the standouts. So yesterday, for instance, it was sort of a weird day. I don't know if you followed with all the sanctions put on Huawei by the president, and now they kind of lifted them a little bit last night. So the markets are now up this morning. The Dow. And the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 up, pretty significantly. But if you looked a little bit, sort of under the hood, all the techs and the semiconductors yesterday, as a result of everything coming out with respect to the sanctions, and hurt your favorite stock. That we won't talk about, but your favorite stock, Apple, took it pretty much on the chin, and I think from top to bottom, that stock now from its high is off about 15%. So that effectively correct itself in a relatively short period of time, and all the semiconductors, the chip makers, they all sort of took it on the chin yesterday. They are rebounding somewhat today, but I think that. All of us, I think we're expecting the trade tariffs and the trade tensions to be somewhat rectified, but by now. But you think about the fact that this.
By the way, I'm a fan of going for it because we've had terrible deals for too many years, but you have now sneaker companies that are flipping out.
So what? Nike, Adidas yesterday, Foot Locker. I mean, when you look at the end of the day, and we'll get into this a little bit later this morning, Harry. But think of who is going to get hurt by the tariffs. I mean, politically speaking, coming out of Washington, are saying, well, it's not going to be the consumer. But Harry, at the end of the day, the consumer is, the recipient at the end of the line that's going to take delivery of those particular goods and services are going to be the ones that are going to be faced with higher prices. I don't care how you slice it or dice it.
That's fair.
There were a lot of discussions last week about.
By the way, I think the statement is fair. I don't want to have my words misconstrued. When you said it, I said that's fair. The fair words. It's a fair statement that you're making. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and you think about this, when we impose that 25%, tariff on an imported good from China. Now, whether it's a television or laptop, the tariff is paid to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Service. There's an American-based broker out there who represents the U.S. retailer. That's sort of what they refer to as the importer of record, who's buying the Chinese good. The Chinese government does not pay the tariff. So I think it needs to be
the people paying for the goods pay the tariff.
Exactly,
so paying more.
And I think
has anybody done a P&L if the tariffs, the increase in the tariffs that we make, does it offset other intangibles? Nobody's really done a P&L on it.
Well, if you look at the Chinese economy itself, I mean, they're projected to suffer basically a 1.5 percentage point reduction.
Meaning people will buy less of their exports.
Correct. If we implement that 25% tariff on all imports from China, that means all and everything. Now we're not there yet. We always talked about we would what a great world it would be if we were able to have a country that produces a growth rate of 6.6%, which China has recently accomplished, but that has been down significantly over previous years. So you take the 1.5 percentage points
that hurts
off of the 6.6, so you're down about 5%. So
see, I look at it this way. Right now, they're exporting $600 billion, and I'm rounding numbers. It's a little more than that. $600 billion to our $100 billion. We got to do something about that.
We do. We do.
And this is the messiness of what happens during it.
And I think we're as what do we oftentimes refer to? We're seeing the sausage being made in Washington and now in China. So
I hate the tariffs, Chuck, but if you didn't raise the tariffs, it'd be
the same.
There's no leverage.
No, but I think that I think the markets are getting tired by this.
Yeah, I agree.
Because now what's happening is that we are clearly not trading on fundamentals. We are trading, like I said a few minutes ago, we're trading on the next headline.
Could you say we're trading on emotion?
Well, the market always trades on emotion, but we're trading more on geopolitical risks than anything else.
What is the next thing going to be?
Who's coming next with what? And, you can't, you will, if you try to trade this market, and I mean, I'm sure some people have been relatively successful at it, but the most retail investors are going to get terribly whipsawed by the whole process.
Well, look, we had a downturn when this news percolated. Then we had an upswing after it was processed for a little bit. But this is like a seesaw right now.
It absolutely is, and it's an emotional and what happens is there are certain industries that I don't want to say get picked on, but are going to take it on the chin more than other industries. I mean, take a look just the other day, Harry, with lifting the sanctions, I guess steel. Between Canada, U.S., and Mexico, and there was another. It was steel, and I don't recall what else, but it didn't really move the market that much. But
no.
Having said all that, look, going into yesterday, the Dow up 15. I'm sorry, the Dow up 11.5%. The S&P up 15%, and the Nasdaq up 18%. Now the Nasdaq took it pretty good yesterday, so take the Nasdaq down about 16.5%. I mean, as we said a month ago, it'd be great if the year, not that we're trying to, move time along very, very quickly.
This
would
be a great year right now.
It'd be a great year if it ended right now. Yeah. But unfortunately, we're only, middle end of May, soon. So I can't believe, Harry, we're 5 months into the year. That is just incredible.
It's mind-boggling to me. Now, you mentioned how this will affect China's GDP. How do these trade tensions?
It's going to affect us as well. I mean, you think about. I mean, I've seen anywhere from 0.5 to 1% or 1 full percentage point off of GDP. But that's anybody's guess because again, this is it's the goal line continues to move, and today you might be on a 3-yard line, but tomorrow you might be back on the 10-yard line. But I think what is happening here, the markets right now, Harry, are caught between the negatives of the escalating trade issues and the positives of monetary policy that is continue to be somewhat accommodative. We think that these trade tensions are going to ease, somewhat, not so much maybe over the next 4 to 6 weeks, but maybe more on a longer term basis. But the risks are obviously more elevated. monetary policy is going to keep the global economy, moving in the right direction. Even though at times it seems to be somewhat uneven, one country versus another, but it seems as if we're on the right path here with respect to accommodative monetary policy.
Very interesting. We're going to take our first break. You're listening to the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, and make Chuck your official financial advisor simply by calling Chuck and his great team, Mike and Nancy and Kristen, the entire team, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. What that can encompass is sitting down with Chuck, and he'll talk to you about what are you looking to accomplish? When do you want to retire? If you could pick the year, what year would it be? How many children do you have or do you plan to have? College building, vacation planning, retirement planning. 609, the full range of financial services. 609-383-2010. This portion of our program, not directly related to Chuck or Chuck's program, but it is financial, and it is important if you're either nearing or you are at Medicare eligibility age. You can learn everything you need to know about Medicare at Hayfitz & Associates, free Medicare seminar tomorrow night, 6 p.m., where Frank Brooks of Hayfitz will explain Medicare Parts A and B, the difference between having a supplemental versus an advantage plan, and prescription drug coverage. Hayfitz works with numerous carriers so you can receive the best options for your individual situations, your insurance needs. Hayfitz, their office is located conveniently at 609 New Road. That's on Route 9 in Linwood, 609 New Road. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Here's the number to call to RSVP. Please tell Scott and his team that I sent you Hurley in the morning. 609-872-0001, 609-872-0001. I've never told Chuck who this is, but it's a dear friend that Chuck knows very, very well. Also, famous person in our marketplace. They were paying for a prescription that they need to take for the rest of their life. They were paying cash out of pocket until they took me up on my recommendation to go to the Hayfitz Medicare seminar, and they found out that that prescription is covered. They would not have known that. It's really an hour of your life, time well spent.
This is Hurley in the Morning.
Welcome to the program.
This is Hurley in the Morning with your chance to win up to $5,000.
I just won $500. $5,000. $500.
The Wpgg Cash Casino is open. Listen to Harry Hurley weekday mornings at 7:20, 8:20, and 9:20 for cash codes that could put up to $5,000 in your pocket. It's the Wpgg Cash Casino. WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
The weather is getting warmer, and Memorial Day is just around the corner, along with our 43rd Annual Car and Truck Show. This year, we're giving back to our community with the Gentilini Motors Memorial Day Celebration event that ends with our 43rd Annual Car and Truck Show on Saturday, June 1st, from 10 till 3. It's an all-American celebration with Don Gentilini on the grill. Vintage cars and trucks from all eras, car show specials, and fun for the whole family. Visit us online at GentiliniMotors.com or stop by our Woodbine Ford and Chevy dealerships today to save thousands off new or certified pre-owned vehicles. Take advantage of 0% financing on select models or lease one of 10 different models for under $200 a month. With 20 different models that get 30 miles per gallon or better in stock, and your next 2 years of scheduled maintenance on us for selected models. We're also helping you save after the sale. Gentilini Family Motors, over 60 years of experience, 18 acres of inventory, offering America's 2 top brands, all in one location, and still just a short drive from anywhere.
Credit Karma can help you make financial progress by giving you free scores, reports, and monitoring. But Credit Karma does not give you the love that only a mother can. It's just an app.
I miss my mom.
But you can use Credit Karma to help you improve your credit. But it cannot solve the eternal questions surrounding the human condition.
Oh, come on, I need answers.
But signing up is free. No credit card needed. Just download the Credit Karma app now.
Oh, there's my answer.
Credit Karma. Here's to progress.
At Dell, we know running a small business takes hard work. As a thank you, for all of Small Business Month, we're offering up to 45% off select computers with Intel Core processors. Plus, get additional savings when you call a Dell Small Business Technology Advisor. Call 877-BUY-DELL today. That's 877-BUY-DELL. Additional savings valid May 6th through 30th at 8 a.m. Eastern on select computers from customer calls Dell. Excludes Dell Canvas, PowerEdge T30, and select order codes.
The WPG Cash Casino is open with your chance to win up to $5,000. Here's Harry Hurley with another cash code.
Thank you, Johnny Olson. Thank you, Chris Coleman. My name is Harry Hurley. Some call me Hurley in the morning. And this is your chance to play in the WPG Cash Casino. I love this. And I know that you do too, but you have to play in order to have a chance to win. Your code word for this hour is rich. R-I-C-H. That's right, Chuck. It's amazing. There are no coincidences. This is very fortuitous.
So the next hour is going to be Harry.
It could be. Rich or Chuck. Rich, R-I-C-H. Enter the code word at WPGTalkRadio.com for your chance to win up to $5,000 with WPG. Again, the code word is rich. Enter it at WPGTalkRadio.com. And don't forget, one more chance to win exactly 1 hour from now. I'll give you another code word. Chuck Malamut, the time is yours.
So, Harry, well, let's continue a little bit more on trade, if you don't mind. It looks as if over the last 7 to 10 days or so, the trade issues have really taken a turn. And I don't want to sound terribly negative, but they seem like they've taken a turn for the worse here, and the uncertainty, continues to be somewhat elevated. So, if you remember last week, and that's what I was just mentioning a few minutes ago, President Trump did in fact lift aluminum tariffs on Canada,
yes,
and Mexico, and that included steel as well.
I thought that was smart. Because at the time you
have to do that.
Yeah, people you're doing business with, it was good.
But trade issues, as we mentioned, still remain somewhat problematic for our economy and then the financial markets. The financial markets, as you have mentioned and we've talked about, it seems ad nauseum that they don't like uncertainty.
No,
and certainly we have that right now. So, what one of the good decisions that the president did make is that he deferred a decision on auto tariffs, for at least 6 months.
Because you can't be doing all this at one
No,
time.
but
how about Ford announcing that they're going to cut
off
10%?
Yeah, I mean, I think they cut
10% of their whole workforce.
And I think they immediately cut. It was 700 jobs. But I mean, they just literally they're going to they are struggling now, and it seems that the tensions between U.S. and China are now certainly more elevated, and anything happening near term doesn't seem as if it's going to be happening. But the one thing that
is the president messing with his good economy?
I think he might be.
The shame of it is, I know it's the right thing to do because you have no chance of getting better trade deals unless you really go at it this way. But the easiest thing to do would have been not to do it.
Well, yeah, for sure. And the economy, growing the way it has grown, more jobs than people that we oftentimes refer to. You can certainly be gainfully employed, and there, wage increases are out there, and it seems as if he's, taking on this, this battle. And I agree with you that it needs to be done. But the one thing that we do not know and will never, ever know is what is really actually happening. Because when they float out, a press release or a story or a tweet,
I think there was a time we were very close to a deal. I really believe that.
Well, Mnuchin certainly indicated that. Yeah. That they were the Chinese representatives were coming. It was the last visit, 2 weeks ago, and we were ready to go. And then if you remember, that Sunday is when the president came out, and it was like Sunday afternoon at 3 or 4 p.m. with those two tweets and said, "There's no deal here."
I know. Now, Chuck, I know you don't talk about any one stock, any one company, but this sort of sounds like I'm trying to ask you to betray that, but I'm not. In general terms, is Ford cutting 10% of their total workforce? Is that a Ford-specific problem, or do you think we have an automotive industry problem?
I think there's an industry problem. it seems as if that it's not just it's not just Ford. I mean, GM has problems. I mean, BMW, Mercedes, Honda. I mean, they're all struggling here, and because of these.
So is this a sector that's going to be contracting? Is going to be laying off employees? I mean, obviously we know Ford is.
We know Ford is, but I'm really not sure, Harry, if that's company specific. I mean, it's interesting. What I am hearing is the fact that at a lot of these manufacturers, because manufacturing, as we talked about, is sort of the weak link of the economy right now. Manufacturing jobs, and the end supplier, so to speak, before it gets to the consumer. In this case, with respect to automobiles, I mean, remember how you used to order an automobile specific, and it would take months, for arrival. Now, I mean, unless you're ordering like a very, very specific,
like custom almost,
like your Ferrari that's on back order.
Your Lamborghini in 950 Tilton Road parking lot right now.
What happens is the time has been significantly reduced from when you would order that vehicle to taking delivery. So what is happening now, these auto dealers are, with the floor plans, we might have mentioned this last week, is that they're not stocking a lot of vehicles because of the expense and the fact that you can get a vehicle very, very quickly.
It's almost on demand. It's like
your
hamburger.
It's virtually, you order a specific vehicle, chances are, unless there's something very, very different about that vehicle, you're going to probably be able to get it within 2 weeks.
Shame of this also, Chuck, we've been celebrating corporate earnings for most of this year, many more hits than misses. Does this trade stuff mess with our own corporate earnings?
So if you look at corporate earnings, they have been somewhat troubled, but we expect eventually to see somewhat recovery. We did make, for the most part, first quarter, but remember that the earnings were downgraded significantly. And just this morning, as you were on your show, Home Depot reported they beat top and bottom line, and in spite of just some really bad weather, it was a tough spring here. Not only here, but across the whole country. But growth has slowed with respect to earnings. We don't expect an end to the current cycle that we're in anytime soon, especially if we don't see this trade deal, being worked out.
So then this would beg the question: is there any reason for the Fed to cut rates?
Well, we don't expect a rate cut.
I don't either.
Anytime soon. I mean, I know that we mentioned.
You also don't expect a rate increase.
No, we don't. But I know that we talked about this last week very, very briefly, is the fact that, Fed fund futures, all bets were on, like 75% were betting that there was going to be a cut in December.
I was astounded by that. Never saw it, never believed it.
The Fed, the Fed has made it very, very clear, and they're very, very dovish at this point in time. The market wants a rate cut. I mean,
yes,
certainly, but we think that might be somewhat elusive at this point in time.
I will take the status quo through the 2020 election. Just leave it alone. Don't raise interest rates. Don't lower interest rates.
We talked about wages just in passing just a few minutes ago. So I think this is what the Fed focuses on. If wages grow at or above that 3% annual pace, and that's where we are right now, it's really hard to envision that the central bank is going to actually reduce rates. So, you have your cake, and you want to eat it too, but you're not. We don't think that there's going to be a rate cut.
See, I think if we're at that we were a little over 3%. I forget if it was 3.1 or 3.2, but we were a little over 3%. That tells me that that's healthy growth, but not the kind of growth that would inspire the Fed to raise interest rates, but it's healthy enough, robust enough growth that they won't lower interest rates, which I keep defaulting. I want status quo.
So here's the good news with all of this, because we've been all over the place this morning. Consumer sentiment has improved. The University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index increased to 102.4, Harry, in May. That's a 15-year high. Okay,
so people think things are good.
The consumer is good, but on the flip side, retail sales unexpectedly fell in April. So
let me put you on the spot. When consumer sentiment was lower, retail sales were increasing.
Yes.
And now the consumer sentiment has improved, but the retail sales have fallen.
So consumer
that's a level of psychotic almost.
Well, but here it even makes it I don't want to say worse or sort of solidifies, with respect to the retail sales. I mean, a lot of the retailers are coming this morning. I'm not going to pick on a company. Kohl's reported they did not get to their number. Their stock was off 10% pre-market this morning, but what is what should help them is the fact that I don't know if you followed this, but it's an Amazon drop point. I did know that. You have a shipment that comes to your house and you're not happy with it, and instead of going through the whole thing is shipping back, you can literally take it into a Kohl's store, drop it, and they're thinking that foot traffic into that store is going to help, and I think it will help.
I think that's a good partnership there.
So we'll see if that happens.
Halftime break. We're going to be right back. The best in the business continues. Chuck Malamut, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. When we began this program, Chuck has been with us since second one of the entire existence of this program, which is now getting closer and closer to 3 full decades on the air. The Malamut Group for all of your financial planning needs, 609-383-2010.
Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and on the WPG Talk Radio app.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Message and data rates may apply. Up to 8 messages a month. TNC and privacy policy found at purple.com. Reply help for help or stop to cancel.
Not to brag, but the Purple mattress is a pretty big deal, and so is our Purple Memorial Day sale. For a limited time, get up to $100 off and a free set of luxury Purple sheets when you buy a mattress. That's up to $229 in savings, our biggest sale ever. What makes Purple such a big deal? It's the only mattress that gives your back the firm support it needs and the soft comfort you crave at the same time, no matter your body type or favorite sleep position. Dreading those hot summer nights? Purple's one-of-a-kind comfort technology naturally stays cool all night so you don't sweat the bed. Not to mention it isolates motion, is non-toxic, and is made right here in the USA. Because the best rest of your life starts on Purple.
Don't miss out on Purple's humongous Memorial Day sale. Get $100 off and free sheets by texting SNORE to 84888. Shop the best deal yet by texting SNORE to 84888. That's SNORE to 84888.
Now at 95.5 FM, Hurley in the Morning, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We're back 34 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut continues all about your financial matters. So corporate earnings continue.
So Harry, what we're seeing is that we did talk a little bit about earnings being somewhat troubled, but we do expect that we get through this recovery, and we get this deal hopefully done, earnings will improve. But in spite of all that, the earnings that we're seeing coming out of U.S. companies are better than their global peers at this point in time. And that's particularly evident when it comes to Europe. Our U.S. companies should show first quarter growth around 2.5% compared to less than 0.5% in Europe. Likewise, the positive surprise we talked about before in the U.S. are averaging about 6%. versus 0.2% for Europe. So we're starting to see some separation here. We always kind of talked about how markets kind of trade, one and the same. If anything happens here in the U.S., then it's likely to happen, overseas the next day, particularly in Asia. But having said all that, the Euro Stoxx 50, the FTSE 100, and the DAX are up anywhere from 11 to 13% year to date. The troubling spot, global markets, year to date has been the Japanese market, which is up about 7.7%. But I'll take 7.7% in the middle towards the end of May at any point in time. No doubt about that.
Every day, all day. Now, next topic on your program, I don't think you can overstate how important it is. Our government and the appetite for spending at a level that it's completely unsustainable.
It's like the 500-pound gorilla.
It
is nothing short of incredible.
And nobody wants to talk about it. What are we, $22 trillion in debt right now?
We're not, Harry. Why are we not going to talk about it? You have that answer.
Yeah. Well, the reason we don't talk about it is because there's no appetite to fix it. They want to keep it going,
and because they continue with the entitlement programs. Because how many? There's 23 now Democrat potential nominees.
23.
They all want a piece of the pie, so to speak.
Not only is there not an appetite to stop the spending, there's an appetite to spend more.
Here's what is discouraging. So think about this for a second. Before the Great Recession, we were spending. I can't even write this number down, Harry. In fiscal year 2008, we were spending $3 trillion. Trillion. That's $8.2 billion a day. Now, as of fiscal year ending 2018, we were spending $4.11 trillion. So we went from $3 trillion to $4.11 in a decade. That's $11.3 billion with a B a day.
Wow.
Harry, where's the money coming from?
Wow.
11 point, and this came from the Office of Management and Budget. So,
yeah.
I can't even fathom that kind of money. Where's it going?
You look where it's going. You have line items for discretionary. You have the line items for things we can't even remotely touch. It's kind of like the school tax, what they call thorough and efficient. You can't touch it if you wanted to touch it. We are spending so much more than we bring in. And I've asked you this question over the years on your show, Chuck. We're never going to be able to pay this debt, are we? How could you do it?
I think, Harry, it's going to be nothing short of remarkable and incredible and all the adjectives.
And will never happen.
I don't think it's certainly.
But they also can't retire the debt either.
They cannot,
because that would destroy us.
Now, wouldn't it be nice in our generation if we were at least able to put a lid on the debt?
Right. You could say
this is
where
it.
We're at.
We're not going to grow it.
Right, but that's not the
now,
case.
Let me give you some positive news here. I was getting ready for our show prep, but believe it or not, there is one tax out there that we pay as employees that really hasn't changed in 30 years.
I'm shocked. I've been waiting for this.
The Social Security payroll tax rate that employees pay has been 6.2% since 1990. There was a 2% reduction to that rate during the 2 years, coming out of the Great Recession, 2011 and 12. But think about this, Harry, that we actually have a tax that hasn't changed
in 30 years. But I make a prediction. It will change.
It's going to change.
Because
why?
Because we need more money, and the politicians want to stay in office, and so they're going to say we have so many baby boomers that are retiring, we don't have enough money in the Social Security system. They'll even campaign to us. We haven't raised it in 30 years, and in fact, just like the great Chuck Malamut just said, we actually lowered it not long ago. They're going to increase that, just like the New Jersey gas tax.
And here's the other thing that's happened, and I think that everyone needs to be made aware of that the greatest number of births in our history were 4.32 million. That was in calendar year 2007. That's 8 babies born every minute, Harry. for the entire year. Wow. Now, where we are now, we have moved down to 3.79 million births at the end of 2018. That's the lowest total that we've seen since 1986. That's about 7 babies a minute, but it doesn't seem like it's a lot. But think about it. You go from 4.32 to 3.79 over the last decade or so. So that means there are ultimately fewer future taxpayers.
People are waiting longer to have children. In some cases, they're not having children,
or they're having fewer children,
or fewer children. Exactly.
So I think I think you're absolutely right with respect to Social Security. I think it's just a matter of time before that tax rate does increase.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it, and they're going to explain it. And it's, to be honest, it's really not unreasonable.
No, I think it. Well, I think the good news is, and it is capped to a certain wage level, and our clients and are collecting Social Security. You will, Harry, at the right age, collect Social Security, and you will wait till full retirement age. You will not take it.
Oh, I'm following the Malamut doctrine.
You will not take it the reduced benefit because where else can you get an 8% increase every year?
That's right.
And if you know what we don't know.
We don't know date of expiration, Chuck, though.
Well, yeah. And if you can live about 8 to 10 years from the time you start collecting at age 66 and change, that if you live into your mid-70s, you would have made the right decision.
Yep.
The average mortality today on the retirement analysis that we do for our clients and our prospective clients, the average male lives around age 90. Mortality, the average woman is about 93.
Doesn't that sound crazy high?
No, it isn't actually, Harry, because you think about it, I've seen all kinds of studies, and look, we've had a lot of enhancements with medicine and healthcare. When we started together I've been at it 33 years or so. We've been together 26, I guess. 27. The average mortality was in the mid-80s, low to mid-80s for the average male, and mid to high 80s for the average female. So
Stunning.
We've increased, anywhere from 5 to 10 years.
That also bodes well for the species, for the race, but that bodes very, very ominous for Social Security.
We talked about that last week or the week before, where Social Security for the first time was running at a deficit.
Well, you think about it. When they started it, and you could retire at 65, many people didn't even collect one paycheck. It was almost like a program in name only. My father paid his whole life and he paid 40-some years.
My father, unfortunately, he passed away at age 55, so he never collected.
And my father never did either. My father died at 65, and my mother passed away at 54. They never collected. They paid in. Now, if you're living 30-plus years or thereabouts past when you start to collect your first paycheck, that's tough to sustain that, Chuck.
It is, Harry. And, the other thing that we have to think about is, and we oftentimes talk about this, is how ill-prepared most of our country is with respect to, retirement planning, and the fact that there's so many households that live on the edge right now. Literally, 30% of working adults say, in a recent survey that was conducted, Harry, say that they are not able to pay for their daily necessities without utilizing credit card debt or getting into the retirement savings if they miss just a single paycheck.
Yeah.
So you miss one. So you think about it, you're living the old adage, you're living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, we've heard that forever. So literally, Harry,
you're on like a tight
You're
rope.
kind of on borrowed time. Like 30%. If they miss one paycheck, they're on the edge. If 50% of those surveyed say they would have to use a credit card or get into their savings if they were to miss more than one paycheck. So you miss one paycheck, that's 30%. You miss more than one, that's 50%. I don't even know what the number. Let's say you missed a month.
Then you're racking that debt up at high interest rates and you're really, like you have on your prep sheet, living on the edge, you're in big trouble. I wish I would have been at the class of Frank Smith, the class of 2019, Chuck, because he is paying an average of $200,000 in student loan debt for 400. Is it Morehead College?
Morehouse. I think it's called.
Morehouse.
It's a all male black college in Atlanta.
Mostly black. It's not all black. It's mostly black though. So 400. He said, this is my class. And the man is, I know he's worth $5 billion.
He received his doctorate.
He got his honorary doctorate, and he is paying $40 million. Now you think about it. We talk about this on your show. We talk about it on your nephew's show. We have a situation right now where these students are coming out with, in some cases, multiple six figures in debt. They will never be able to buy a home.
So Harry, if you look right now at the outstanding student loan debt in our country, at the end of the first quarter, 1.5 trillion, not billion, 1.5 trillion. That's up 125%, 8.5% a year, when it was 660 billion a decade ago.
Wow.
So, you know,
it's wonderful that the money was there and the people could get the college degree, but parents with the Parent Plus loans, students with their student loans, they are just getting crushed.
I think one of the things that we talked about, and it just doesn't seem to resonate, is the fact that most college students, you know, it takes more than the 4 years to graduate. And I see it in my household. I have, you know, my son and my daughter are both moving on from their undergrad into masters. You know, one's in a 5-year program, the other's in a 6-year program. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, there's no such thing as a 4-year going to college for 4 years, unless you are very specific in what you're studying for, and you come out, you know, with a job opportunity or multiple job opportunities. And I think the problem we're faced with is that, you know, colleges basically can increase their tuition at will.
Yeah.
And so now we're starting to see some smaller colleges, and I think there was one in Vermont I read about this past weekend that basically closed its doors. It was a small private college, maybe 1,000 students at best. And so we're starting to see that because there's a lot of competition, but I think that's something that needs to be worked on. And I'm like, Harry, I'm not certain where it comes from and how it starts, but as we talked about putting a lid on things, you really need to put a lid on these educational costs.
I know, because you hit the nail on the head. They never worry about what they increase it by because the money was always there for either the student or the parent to borrow it. So nobody cared about the price. That's not typically how we operate as a country.
No.
We're cost sensitive. We're cost conscious. So I think that's a big issue there. How does that debt ever get retired? Now, I know if you have a government student loan, many of them, if you die, you could owe $200,000. It's retired.
Correct.
So the taxpayers get beat is what happens there. But that's one example of how the debt can get retired. For example, there are people that we know that have refinanced this stuff, have taken all these forbearances and every break imaginable, but the interest keeps on
keeps on moving,
and it's heavy. It's heavy interest.
And the fact of the matter is, and I think when we started this discussion with respect to education, is the fact that an uncontrollable situation, and two, the impact that it has. You walk away with your degree or degrees, and you're saddled with a house payment and maybe then some.
Right.
I mean, there's been, and we kind of talked about last week.
The Morehouse students, 4 years. I think you're right. I think it's mostly 5 years. Although I did hear about a Northfield City Councilman, his son graduated in 3 years. I mean, I think that's supernatural, a BA in 3 years. But
how much is he paid? $5?
He paid $200,000 for 400 students. You talking about the?
It was $8 million. It was
$40 million. He paid.
Paid $40 million.
Yeah, for 400 students.
Okay,
200,000. That's the average of their debt. Now, you can imagine they're so relieved. They were going to come out, and within 1 year, your payments start. They give you 1 year. I'm like a ninja in this. I know this very well. Within 1 year, you got to start paying them. You do have some breaks you can take and so on, but it's going to cost you. And they're never gonna get out of it.
Yeah, and this wasn't scripted either. This was just, I mean, literally, he took everyone by surprise. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine you're sitting there, you're ready to graduate, Harry, and you're saddled with $100,000 plus of debt? And
he said, "I'm going to put some fuel. I'm going to put some gasoline in something." He said, "in your tank." Can you imagine going from $200,000 in debt and staring a $2,500 a month payment for 25 years, and then finding out that your debt is gone? I mean, that's
just incredible.
It's beautiful.
So, we talked a lot about tariffs. The one thing that we really didn't talk about here is that, who's going to get hurt the most. So when you look at apparel and you look at footwear that's manufactured, in China, 41% of all the apparel is manufactured in China. 72% of footwear, and there was a big splash.
And that's
yesterday.
why they came out.
And they came out and they
Nike
said, "Look,
Adidas.
you can't do this." But
well, farmers are getting crushed, but they're going to get subsidies. The sneaker industry getting absolutely hammered. Who else did we talk about? Auto industry.
Right. Well, that's on hold for now.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm cautiously optimistic, Harry, that we're going to get to the point in time here where there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that we're really, really not aware of, and I think it's going to take everybody by surprise. And I'm hoping, in a good way, not so much in a bad way.
Chuck, 2 minutes left in your program, and I want to ask you this because I'm curious. I know why, because we have our own problems here. But why is the Illinois pension plan on your list?
So believe it or not, the Illinois pension plans are actually in worse shape than what we have here in the state of New Jersey.
And didn't they make big changes?
They did. So right now, Harry,
in
the five pension plans for state employees in Illinois on an aggregate basis were funded at a 40% level. 40%.
Oh.
Okay? And Illinois state law requires the plans to be 90% funded at the end of 2045.
Good luck.
So 2045 seems like a long way away. But what do you think happened? What do you think government did here? Well, they kicked the can down the road. So now the current governor has recommended that 90% funding requirement be delayed another 10 years. I'm sorry, another 7 years to 2052.
Yeah, because that's going to fix it. That's so silly.
So, I think it's really, really a sad state of affairs, and unfortunately, New Jersey has not learned a lesson from this. And as you oftentimes refer
incidentally, that's not even a serious solution.
It's not a solution.
That's terrible.
But
we're no better here.
Basically, did the same thing here. I mean, you look at, and you oftentimes talk about it. You talk about it with me, and you talk about it with others. The fact that we are losing population. I mean, quote unquote, the rich people. Are leaving, and do you blame anybody to leave?
No, we have several different sort of demographics, if that's a good word to use. The very rich can leave because they can go wherever they want. The people that can't afford to stay here also have to leave. Like my friend Joe, who's in South Carolina, he lost his home here, had to go to South Carolina. I thought he sold his home. He admitted last week or 2 weeks ago he lost his home. So we have flight happening at all ends of the spectrum, Chuck.
And Harry, what's interesting in our travels, we see there's I think I might have mentioned to you a couple weeks ago I was in Tennessee and not too long ago in Las Vegas and down in Florida. Obviously climate, and the fact is that there's a lot going on. I mean, there's
booming, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I was in a very remote town just 2 weeks ago, and just driving 45 minutes to the Chattanooga airport, it was amazing the growth that you're seeing in these outlying areas.
We are out of time. He is Chuck Malamut for all of your financial planning needs, 609-383-2010. We covered it all today.
Hey, Harry, listen, to you and your listeners, obviously your family, have a wonderful holiday.
Thanks, Chuck.
Hard to believe it's Memorial Day.
I'm working the holiday.
Of course you are.
I'm going to be here. Harry 100.
Harry 100. There you go.
We'll be back. Don't go away.
See you.
See you, Chuck.
You're home for Hurley in the Morning and me, Mark Levin, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy and the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, Linwood, and Philadelphia.
Ah, spring. Beautiful flowers, green grass, and leaves on the trees. Everything comes alive again, including our allergies. Pollen, mold, and dust mites wreak havoc on more than 67 million Americans every year. If you're one of them, and I know I am, there's a few ways to cut down on the sneezing, coughing, and itchy eyes. First, leave the pollen outside. When we come home, we should kick off our shoes and change our clothes. A quick shower can help us rinse off any pollen on our skin and hair. Make sure to wear a mask and gloves when cleaning or vacuuming to limit dust exposure, and keep windows closed to keep pollen from entering the house. Change filters in your air conditioning units and vents. Over-the-counter allergy medicines can be very effective, but if you prefer not to use them, try a saline nasal rinse.
Brought to you by Integrity Physical Therapy with 4 locations. Put yourself in their hands. And by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff. Attention you expect, results you deserve.
What's your kind of fun? Is it award-winning dining and live music and frozen drinks at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville and all the above? Find your fun at Resorts Casino Hotel in Atlantic City. More at resortsac.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Get in the game with the best sportsbook in AC this March Mania season. DraftKings Sportsbook at Resorts is the place to be all tournament long. Featuring exciting game day promotions plus food and drink specials, this season is sure to be a slam dunk. Stop by Resorts Casino Hotel today and place your bet.
Ike was such a sweet, lovable animal, and people would want to pet him, and they'd come up and they'd get close to him, and it would be this instant, oh! My dad didn't want to touch him. It's like, ooh, get the stinky dog away from me.
Even after we'd give her a bath, she would still stink.
Very stinky, both bad breath and bad gas. I asked the vet, and he said some dogs are just stinky.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
The ingredients convinced me that it was definitely worth trying. After about a week, he started smelling normal. My husband and I were really kind of astonished.
Dinovite is nutrition.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising. This ad is sponsored by Case Legal Media. Attention! This is an important message for anyone that has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers. The Internal Agency for Research on Cancer warned that overexposure to Roundup and other weed killers may increase the risk of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto, the manufacturer of Roundup, may have known that Roundup and other weed killers were likely linked to organ damage and cancer. This information was hidden from the public as proprietary trade secret since 1981, and Monsanto may have failed to warn of the potential risk of cancer. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call us now at 800-715-5016. Our network of it.
And we go to the top of the hour break, fourth and final quarter, just 4 or so minutes away. Marty Small, the president of Atlantic City Council, will be joining us. We're going to be talking about, among other things, Marty Small's wife, LaQuetta Small, who, whether they like it or not, they've been now embroiled in a controversy that I don't even think should exist, because I believe that Superintendent Barry Caldwell has I know as a former board member, he has the absolute authority to move teammates around as he sees skill sets best suited, and he wants to move Laquetta Small to the high school. He wants to move Lena Gill to Pennsylvania Avenue School. And as far as I know, and I looked into it, the board supports that move. We'll be talking about it next.
95.5 FM and 1450 AM, WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 and 4 Millville.
Democrats won't get the answers they want. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
It's all a game. It's not like they didn't know. They knew there was no collusion. They're smart people.
President Trump at a rally last night in Pennsylvania, again calling the Russia investigation a hoax. This morning, his former White House counsel will not show up at a hearing into the Mueller report. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
Defying a congressional subpoena, former White House counsel Don McGahn will not appear this morning before the House Judiciary Committee. President Trump yesterday